Today we're going to talk about some utilities in network management. In the network management utilities, there are three options. There's batch, export, and log. So on the batch option, you get the opportunity to run a batch file which you've created earlier, usually in a text format. And there's a specific set of rules that you use to create those, and those are all down here in the help files. If you look, you can see the kinds of things that you can do with it. Normally we use this for network moves. If you're moving a batch of IP addresses, you can change host names, domain names, networks, all of that kind of thing, and the instructions on how to build those batches are here in these help files. Read them very carefully. They are very well written. I've used them many times. I've built a lot of batch files, and it'll show you what a batch, here's what a batch, sample batch file looks like. And then it shows you the output. Once you run it, it'll give you a log at the end that will tell you something about what's happened, whether or not you've had any failures, whatnot, and you can keep those. It's always good to make a backup of your batch file before you begin, so that in case you have to undo things in a hurry. I urge you not to use the batch file option unless you are a detail-oriented person. You miss one or two little details in a batch file and you can really mess things up in a hurry. However, it can save you an awful lot of time if you do it right, and it's a very handy tool. The next thing are exports. Export is a little self-explanatory, but it means to push changes into network, or push changes from network management out to the various DHCP servers, of which there is one on every campus. DHCP exports just the DHCP logs. That would be if you were just to click the export one here. The next one is the name servers. That's to just export the name servers, or you can export all the information, not just the changed data. In general, the DHCP changes and the name server changes, that happens automatically. As soon as a change is made, that happens in the database and is pushed out to the servers within seconds. Occasionally, there's an issue where during self-registration, there's a timing issue where perhaps a batch is, or an export's already running, and then a self-registration takes place, and because of timing, it just misses an update and it doesn't get pushed out regularly. And so those get picked up at the half of the hour. DHCP exports run on the half hour, so at the top and the bottom of the hour, that would get pushed out. DNS exports, the name server exports, those happen every 10 minutes. So why, if we have all of those automatic exports and updates and checks and balances, why would we need to export them manually? Well, occasionally you will get someone on the phone that is trying to do a self-registration and they've got themselves tied in a knot, and it's 30, they may have another 20 minutes and they need to get on, or you're just working with them. And the best thing to do is to export DHCP and let that happen. Sometimes you're working with somebody changing a name server, a server address for them in a domain on the schools or whatever. Maybe it's a mail server or whatever, and you want to push that export ahead of the 10-minute cycle. And those would be the reasons that you might use an export manually of those servers. Okay, so let's go on to log files. Log files are very handy for troubleshooting. We use them mostly for searching for DHCP requests, but once you become familiar with the logs, you can find other uses for them as well. You can search the log files for anything in text form that's within that log file, and you can do it with this page, this search. Most often, you're going to be searching for a MAC address or a hardware address from the host that you're looking to see. And how you're going to do that, you're going to need the hardware address. You can pick it out of Network Management if you like, or you can get it from the user. Let's say you get it out of Network Management. It's going to be in this format. And so you come over and you paste it in here. However, you won't find anything with that search because this particular search requires the colons to be added. So you're going to go through and you're going to add the colons, just like that. The other thing you're going to do is drop down and look for the correct name server. It comes up with name A, that's Augusta. You're going to come down to name O, name P, those Orono, Portland, M, Machias, etc. I'm going to use O. The drop down for the log, I'm going to leave it on messages. I'm just going to hit go. Takes a minute. It's going to search down through the file. And here's what comes up the first time. This is pretty much what you'll see as a successful search of the log file. Here are some of the exchanges between the server and the host. There's a DHCP discover. Then there's an offer, a request, and an acknowledgement. Now, once that acknowledgement comes in, the host has the IP address and they're happy with that. Over the course of the day, you'll see that it continued to do some offers and requests. This happens to be my iPhone, and cellular phones tend to be very aggressive doing DHCP. You might not see this many requests come in during the course of a day for a laptop, for instance, but the smaller the device, they tend to be a little more chatty when it comes to DHCP. Some of the other things that you might see besides discover, offer, request, and acknowledge, you might see a DHCP decline. That's in case of an IP conflict. The server would give the host an IP address, and the host would try to use it and say, wait a minute, somebody already has that, and it would decline the offer. There's also a DHCP inform. This is where the host comes on and notifies the server that it has an IP address and basically wants to know whether or not it can keep it. It comes on and it says, I'm here to inform you, this is my IP address. And if that's acknowledged, then it keeps it. And, maybe the lease isn't up. Sometimes you'll see it where it comes in and it doesn't inform for the wrong network because it's a computer, usually a Mac, that wakes up and doesn't remember where it is. It went to sleep on one network, it wakes up in another one, and it says, I've got this IP address, and the server comes back with a DHCP NAK or a NAK, a non-acknowledgement that says, no, you can't have that one. So let's do some other searches just for the fun of it. You can search by, for instance, a gateway address. Let's say you had a school that wanted to, said they were having DHCP issues, and you wanted to see what was going on with that. You might want to put in a gateway address. So here's the school's gateway address, and if we do a search on that, you'll see during the course of the day, all of the DHCP requests. The latest ones are at the bottom. We'll scroll down to the bottom, and so you'll see, you can see a bunch of DHCP informs down here. This is a good representation of the kinds of things that come out of a gateway during the course of a day as a conversation between the host and the server. And so you can see this acknowledgments, requests, discovers, informs, all down there. And this is obviously working very well. We'll go to the top of the screen again. Notice that here it says no free leases. Now, oftentimes when somebody sees that, they think that it really means there are no free IP addresses, but that's not what it means. It can mean that, but basically it doesn't mean we're out of addresses. It might mean that the host is not in network management, or that the host MAC address is in network management, but it's trying to roam into a network that where roaming is turned off. So basically, no free leases message means that the system, for some reason yet to be determined, will not give that host an IP address to that network. So if you wanted to see, for instance, no free leases, you could even search on that. Anything that's in the log file in the form of a text, as long as you can get it in the right format. It is not case sensitive, but it does, if you add a space in between a word and another word, that part of it does matter. So you can search anything in the log file by entering it up here in this filter box. It's not case sensitive. You do have to be careful about where you put spaces. You couldn't type in free leases no. It's going to have to be no free leases with the spaces in the right place. But the search will work if you get the format correct. That's pretty much everything that I know about the utilities and network management. We will, at a later date, perhaps look at some of the other features of network management, but this seems to be the log file seems to be the one area where people don't really understand what the potential is there. So that's why I've done this video. And thank you. Have a good day.